But I used to love to make movies. I did. You know. You know, sorry. You know, people, they have their dreams. This information of total deaths was provided always.
His fans like the show, but this compilation, this use of the N-word so many times in the past may be too much even for some of his defenders to bear.
For the deaths of individual, I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Yo, bro, I think it's time for your eyebrows to break up with each other. They ugly. Let it go.
And the Academy Award for Worst Actor goes to LeBron James.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and if there is somebody that comes to mind when you really think about morons out there, if you're me, it's probably LeBron James. LeBron James single-handedly ruined the NBA for me, even though I think it's rigged anyway, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, LeBron is worth $1 billion, but his thoughts are worth far less. His attempts to be some sort of spiritual and social justice leader continually backfire on him, and he's almost never held to account because he says the right things. Remember when, LeBron was hesitant about getting the poke? Hardly anybody said anything about it. When he put that police officer's face on his social media, putting his life at risk, where was the admonishment from all the media that bends the knee to him? Remember this? LeBron James explains why he deleted the tweet about the PD. Here's another one. LeBron James inciting things against Ohio police officer. This is disgraceful. This is dangerous. Is the NBA Twitter okay? And then you see a lot of people, sorry you're terrible cop heroes getting mean tweets. You mean the cop that saved that kid's life? James, who has used his platform as one of the most famous athletes to become a leading voice on social justice issues, tweeted that he took down the original post because it was being used to create more hate. I'm so darn tired of seeing black people ended by PD. I took down the tweet because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system and how they always use our words to create more racism. I'm so desperate for more accountability. Except that officer, he's desperate for more accountability, right? But he lacks any whatsoever. He put that officer's life at risk, and that officer's actions, split-second actions, saved the life of a black child. The body-worn camera of Nick Reardon recorded how he arrived at a reported disturbance late Tuesday afternoon. He drew his weapon as the altercation unfolded, and the video showed that he saved her life. But, LeBron doesn't care about his own accountability. Well, time to meme on LeBron just a little bit more. LeBron James nominated for Worst Actor of the Year for performance in new Space Jam movie. Los Angeles Lakers LeBron James was nominated on Monday for the 42nd Razzie nominations for Worst Actor Award for his performance in the new Space Jam movie that was released in theaters last year. The Golden Raspberry Awards, the formal name for the Razzies, nominations are decided by 1,128 voting members from 49 states and more than 24 foreign countries that cast their ballots. As per tradition, the winners will be announced on March 26th, which is the day before the Oscars. Nominations for Worst Picture, Worst Actor, and Worst Actress are as follows. Worst Picture: Diana the Musical, the Netflix version, Infinite, Karen, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and The Woman in the Window. Worst Actor: Scott Eastwood in Dangerous, Ro Hartranft as Princess Charles in Diana the Musical, LeBron James in Space Jam: New Legacy. So he could actually get Worst Picture and Worst Actor. Now, if we look back at actually how the movie worked, I mean, the movie for $150 million means they needed to bring in somewhere around $300 to $400 million to actually make any kind of profit. And the movie did not get anywhere near that. Was LeBron James 2 Space Jam a flop? Well, whatever the reason may have been, films like LA Playoffs turned in $31 million opening, was followed by a 69% drop in revenues in the coming week. Whether it was owing to repeated surges in the CUF, probably suggested low viewer turnouts at theaters, or just a complete disinterest in LeBron James' latest production, it's been a rough first month for the Serververse crew. Well, the movie was never meant to be in the higher echelons of IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. Such a reaction was least expected. While many attribute the film's drubbing to the spreading of the new variant, giving the bashing it got from MJ loyalists, fans have been highly skeptical to say the least. LeBron James facing drubbing off the court. It looks like the collective decision to release the movie simultaneously in theaters and in HBO Max proved costly, while Space Jam 2's downward freefall, shocking to most NBA aficionados, is not surprising given the reviews it received. Setting apart the 79% audience review on Rotten Tomatoes, it was taken to the cleaners on IMDb, where it averaged just 4.4. Was it pure bias on display, or were fans not vibing with the sequel? Perhaps it was Jordan's impact in terms of cultural revolution in the 90s that fans now hold as a piece of reminiscing on his era-ness' greatness. While Space Jam: A New Legacy sees some absolute all-star firepower come to the floor in Don Cheadle and LeBron James, it fails to pack a punch like its predecessor. Whether it was due to an overdependence on CGI, Warner Brothers' intellectual property, it leaves more questions than answer. While most critics and sports analysts completely trashed the movie, giving it a 27% approval rating and a score of 36 on Metacritic, some hardcore Jordan fans have come out in appreciation of James. Well, of course, I mean, Stephen A. Smith and the ESPN people are shilling for the movie. That's what they do. But ultimately, the Razzies are pale in comparison to guys like LeBron James, who talk about social justice but have massive deals with shoe companies in China. This is also brought to light by really just Enes Kanter, just one new NFL player. On Police and Race, LeBron James becomes part of the problem. LeBron James is the professional basketball's greatest player since Michael Jordan. Meh. He's also a political activist, which is his right as an American. But in this case, with so many who have Twitter and other social media accounts, LeBron doesn't have much of a filter. When he tweets something, particularly when he's obviously emotional about the news just broke, his thumbs often seem a few exit ramps ahead of his brain and can lead to some reckless rhetoric, and that's the real impact, considering he has nearly 50 million followers, about equal to the population of New York, Florida, and Michigan combined. Exhibit A on the reckless rhetoric front came when LeBron weighed in on the police event in Columbus, Ohio, who, according to body cam footage, was attempting to end another kid's life and was stopped by the officer. And of course, LeBron James, you're next, hashtag accountability. Some saw that as a threat. I don't think LeBron James is going to show up and try to do anything about it, but I would argue that it could be viewed that way. This is the same LeBron James who in 2019 slammed former Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey for having the audacity to tweet "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." So many people could have been harmed, James warned then regarding Morey's tweet, which had provoked sharp responses from China's ruling party and government. So just be careful what we tweet, what we say. We do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that too, James added. Wow, deep thought, LeBron. One would think that Lakers power forward might take himself off the Twitter court regarding to the Bryant event in Ohio after being criticized as harshly as he's ever seen. But LeBron, much like the 40th of the president, seems to have no filter or discipline when it comes to messaging. So on cue, he went back again saying anger does not do any good. Like many of us on Twitter, LeBron clearly needs an editor or at least someone to proofread his tweets before sending. The assumption is that he hastily sent the tweet and meant anger doesn't do us any good. Again, no filter, no editor. He also just doesn't get it. Social media is kerosene to a fire that is already burning out of control as it pertains to race and the law enforcement. Every event is magnified, and seemingly more and more, a certain segment of the population is declaring cops to be guilty until proven innocent, even when potentially saving lives, as initially appears to be the case in Ohio. This guy has a long history of being absolute trash, and I sincerely hope, as funny as it is, you know, that he earns his Razzie. I don't think he'll care because he secured his bag anyway, but you know, maybe stop listening to this clown. That would probably be a good start. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to y'all real soon.